Well, percenters, welcome back, Coach Tommy. The harsh truth about Victor Wembanyama, Jimmy Roller. Let's watch a few. I don't believe in Wemby.
In 1997, the San Antonio Spurs were one of the worst teams in the entire NBA. Finishing the season with just 20 wins and with a rookie head coach leading the way, their future was uncertain. Their two best players were an aging Dominique Wilkins just 1 year away from his last NBA season, and their franchise player in David Robinson, who was sidelined with a season-ending injury that would linger.
They're doing the Spurs. Most likely he's going to the Spurs with the number one
for
pick.
the rest of his career. The franchise was in a downward spiral with no end in sight.
Avery Johnson.
What they did have was one more chance to make it right. Coming off the worst season in franchise history, the Spurs were given the third best odds to get the first overall pick in the 1997 draft. Exactly what the organization needed to rejuvenate their roster. But according to pre-draft evaluations, the gap between the potential first pick and the third pick was massive. Get the third pick and settle for a small forward out of Utah named Keith Van Horn, or win the lottery.
Keith Van Horn was an all-star.
Best NBA prospect in over a decade. A 4-year starter out of Wake Forest by the name
Who
of
plays
Tim Duncan.
who
And
plays
on the day of the
for
draft
4
lottery,
years?
The future of the Spurs franchise and the future of the NBA would change forever.
Ron Mercer.
The second pick in the 1997 NBA draft.
I think I remember Ron Mercer for getting blocked by
Philadelphia 76ers.
Michael Jordan, old Michael
And
Jordan.
that means that the first pick in the 1997 NBA draft goes to the San Antonio Spurs. Congratulations.
Go
See
Spurs,
this guy right
go!
here? That's Spurs chairman Peter Holt. And in this moment, he was the happiest man on earth because he just won the first overall pick in the 97 NBA draft. Who he would pick was already a foregone conclusion. But not Peter or anyone else at the time knew that the Spurs just won the rights to one of the greatest players in the history of the game.
Timmy
And
Duncan.
This very moment was the beginning of one of the greatest dynasties in NBA history. And now, 26 years later, luck would have it that the Spurs have found themselves right in the middle of another historic night once again, because they now have the rights to the number one overall pick in the 2023 NBA draft. And the prospect they plan on picking up is claimed to be bigger and better than anything we have ever seen. As we get closer to draft day, the hype surrounding Victor Wembanyama is growing by the minute. Experts and analysts.
All right, so the hype, Wemby. I don't think he is going to be that good, to be honest. One, I'm sure you're going to get here plenty of this. I think the speed is going to be too much of a factor. If he plays on the outside, on the perimeter, I think NBA guys will be a little bit faster and get under his dribble a little bit more. Will he be able to get around them? Probably with his length. So if he's going to be on the perimeter, he's going to be a little bit too slow. If he goes into the paint, he's probably going to be not physical enough. So I think the likelihood of him struggling, being too slow on the perimeter, and him being too weak on the inside, he's going to struggle a lot in his first few years. So if he struggles, will his confidence wane? Will he get injured trying to either go too fast or play too physical, or how is he going to deal with the physicality? How will they bring him along? But I think the biggest problem with Wembanyama, or Wemby, I need to figure out how to pronounce his name. Wembanyama, will be no identity. I always talk about identity. What is he? Is he a point guard, a shooting guard, a playmaker, a scorer? I have no idea what he looks like, or how he plays like, or what he's going to play like. There's nobody that's fit his mold, so he has nobody to kind of follow. He can follow KD a little bit, but is he going to play like KD? Will the Spurs let him play like KD? Is he going to be more like Porzingis, who really is more of a perimeter player, who kind of, I guess, hasn't reached his full potential either? I think a lot of guards or a lot of trainers or coaches are teaching him like guards. And I, if I were so lucky to be his coach, I'd teach him to play like a giraffe. Play super up tall in the trees, because nobody is going to mess with him up in the trees. I think people are trying to get him to play lower, down with the little guards, or play stronger in the paint with all the bruisers and the gorillas and stuff like that. But he's a giraffe. He's got to play up high. He's got to shoot from above his head. He doesn't or shouldn't need to bend much, right? Use the little guys to get him the ball up high and have him finish. I think his best attribute will probably be his passing and maybe his length on defense early on. But give him the ball around the nail, one step away or one dribble away from a dunk or an easy 2 or maybe even a 3 from how tall he is. I mean, those are my main 3 points. He's going to have no identity, and I think he's probably going to get injured because of the speed or physicality is going to be too much over the course of the season. Knowing Pop, he'll probably take care of him a little bit and shelter him a little bit and bring him along nice and slow. But I think there's so much hype around him that people are going to want to see him. So maybe this is Pop's last year, and then he's going to exit after this year. Let's watch the rest of this.
Claiming he's the greatest prospect in the history of the sport. Some even claiming he's the best prospect of any sport ever. The franchise that gets him believed to have hit the basketball jackpot that will set them up for
kind of looks like Giannis, but Giannis put in amazing effort into developing his body.
Fans already talking about future championships for the Spurs since they've essentially landed Victor. But turning potential greatness into real winning and championships is a task that very few players have ever been capable of doing.
Why are you not investing in tax liens?
He has crazy physical talent.
Into one of those.
Today's video is sponsored by DraftKings. The playoffs are in full swing, and any $50 sports betting book app. Out of the last 25 number 1 overall draft picks, how many?
LeBron, Dwight Howard, Banyani, kind of that one that you thought was going to be kind of like him, a bust. Bogut, not so great. Derrick Rose, injury. Blake Griffin was pretty good. John Wall, injury down the end, couldn't shoot. Kyrie Irving, I think he's higher than what they thought. Anthony Bennett, Canadian, first round pick, bust. Andrew Wiggins, how can you bust on a number 1 that big? Ben Simmons, 2016, bust. Markelle Fultz, number 1 pick, bust. I think he'll be Markelle Fultz, at least a solid rotational player. DeAndre Ayton looks like he's underperforming. Zion Williams, so far a bust. Anthony Edwards, looking pretty good so far. Cade Cunningham, give him a few more years, but he's not a superstar, I don't think. Maybe an all-star caliber. Banchero, he's got the size, physicality, kind of reminds me of slightly better Julius Randle.
4 or 5.
Banchero might be the best, or Anthony Edwards, and then Banchero out of the 1, 2, 3, the last. Karl Anthony Towns is pretty good. So of the last 10, Anthony Edwards, and then Karl Anthony Towns, and then maybe Banchero will be the best.
5. How about 1? There has been one number 1 overall pick in the.
Oh, I didn't even see the guys on the top. Olo Akandi, underperformed. Elton Brand, really good career. Kenyon Martin, really good career. Kwame Brown was kind of a bust. Yao Ming, I think a great career for what he did. Injuries kind of took him down, so he didn't have a long career. Greg Oden, Bargnani. Greg Oden, major bust.
Last 25 seasons, who has won a Finals MVP? But Finals MVPs are about the toughest thing to win in all of basketball. So what about regular season MVPs? How many of the last 25 first overall picks have won at least one of those? 2. LeBron James and Derrick Rose. That's it. But how about this? How many of the last 25 number 1 overall picks do you think have won a championship?
Oh my God, I missed Anthony Davis in there.
All I care. As long as they have a ring, it counts. But the answer is still just 6. Winning in the NBA is very, very hard to do. But fans and experts are already
Anthony Davis has had a really good career,
who hasn't even
riddled by injuries.
But we've done this before. Unrealistic hype and expectations met with inevitable disappointment. It
didn't
feels
have the
like just
mentality.
yesterday, Zion
Although
Williamson
Candy
was being regarded as the greatest basketball prospect of the decade. And yet here we are, 4 years later.
Y'all hated on me when I said the
Zion has
physics
played
of Zion
just
was
9 games
terrible.
over the last 2 seasons and has yet to play in a single playoff game. Great play.
I always break things down, right? Mind, body craft. Those are the 3 things that you need to succeed at basketball at any level, at every level. The bar or the standard is higher and higher. Mind, body, craft. Zion had a great body. Was his mind there? No. Wembenyama, height, physical talent there.
Far from the franchise-altering force he was hyped up to be. Here's another player who was set
The
to be a
mechanics was
generational
so
prospect
bad
coming into
for
the
Zion.
NBA. Nicknamed the Fresh Prince, being that he was the successor to LeBron King James. This is Ben Simmons, a player that was too afraid to take a shot in a playoff game and peaked in his second season in the league.
The Ben Simmons hate.
To young players far more often than you would think.
Talked about DA
DeAndre
regressing.
Ayton is a solid NBA player.
Mentally
Nowhere
probably
near
too
a
soft.
Superstar, but he could be a key piece on a championship-winning team. Now, would you believe
Chris
that
Paul
just
probably
3 months
killed his
before he was
confidence.
drafted, he was labeled as a, quote, anomaly? In the moment, it always feels like the next guy up is going to be the guy. And then shortly after, we forget about the
hype,
unwarranted
man, the hype
comparisons and
train.
move on to the next guy. But to really
Marvin
understand
Bagley,
how rare
ouch.
it is to draft a player who becomes an all-time great, stays healthy, and stays
If you guys were a GM, how do you so if you guys follow my hypothesis of mind, body, craft, how do you evaluate their mentality, man? That's the hardest thing.
to the franchise that drafted him, we have to look at the teams of
You
players
Wade,
who actually
Dirk,
did it. If we're talking about
Kobe,
transcendent players who led the team that drafted them to multiple championships, then that
MJ, the
list
man
only
himself.
includes 7 players who were drafted in the modern NBA. Over 3,000 players drafted since 1980, and 7 of them went on to be a loyal, franchise-altering talent. These players right here are icons, legends in their franchise and to the game, and they only come around about once in a decade. Now, if Victor is as good as advertised, he could be added to this list one day, but the path to get there is long and riddled with
Chuck.
players who fell short. But in the NBA,
The
even the
mailman.
stars, superstars, and once-in-a-generation talents struggle
Patrick
to win
Ewing,
the
Vince
ultimate
Carter, is that
prize.
T-Mac?
Luka
T-Mac.
Doncic has been a phenom since he entered the NBA, so far exceeding all pre-draft expectations. And yet, 5 seasons into his NBA journey,
I need to see what Luka looks like when he comes back. Is his body there? Does he mentally want to go through the whole grind of being a professional? Not just a professional, a superstar professional.
and he has yet to see the finals, and even missed the playoffs in this last season. Kevin Durant is one of the greatest
KD
players
never
to ever touch a basketball, but
focused
even
on
he
his
had
body.
to abandon the team that drafted him to join a juggernaut of
He
a team
maximized
to win
his
a
skill
championship.
for sure.
James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul, Damian Lillard, Joel Embiid. The list of
Harden
all-time
never,
great players
Westbrook
who have
never,
yet to win a title
Damian
or
Lillard,
find
that'll be a
real
never
success
unless he
in the
joins a
playoffs is
great
massive,
team.
which makes the expectations on
Embiid
Wembanyama
mentally isn't
all the more
there.
baffling. To think that a 19-year-old can come into a struggling franchise and turn everything around may not be realistic. And even worse, it may not even be fair to the young
Hopium.
man. Ironically, the best turnaround directly caused by a rookie in modern NBA history was by Tim Duncan. After this
Timmy.
first
Johnson, you're fired. Why? It's not
You gotta be
true.
in a bad team and then the turnaround, I
Well,
mean,
you've taken it too.
drafted Duncan, their win total jumped from 20
Robinson,
wins
I think, came back.
to 56 wins in 1998.
Giving Timmy a lot of credit here.
36-win jump in Timmy's first season with the team and a championship in his second season. This is by far the greatest leap a team has ever seen simply by adding a rookie to their roster. Larry Bird was another immediate franchise-altering player for the Celtics, but
Larry
that was
Bird.
nearly half a century ago. LeBron couldn't do it, KD couldn't do it, Steph and Michael took years to pull it off. And yet somehow, we don't just want, but we expect this 19-year-old kid to do it. I really think some fans don't understand the pressure that they are putting on Wembanyama. He could be great, amazing, injury-free, generational, and to expect this level of excellence out of him could still be far too much. Over the past 25 seasons, the average MVP finishes the season with a win share total of 15.2. Over that same time span, the average All-Star has a win share total of 10. And among the 450 active players in any given season, the average single-season win share total across the league is just 2. Now, over the
Yikes.
last 25 years, among number 1 overall picks in their rookie season, the average win share total is 4.2. That number jumps to 5.7 in their second season and then hits 7.9 in their third season. But by season 4, many of these once prodigies start to lose their minutes.
That's when they fall off, man. So either injuries will build up. Okay, so the first year, they'll give you a chance to acclimate. The second year, that's when you have kind of a scouting report. They get through the grind of a season. By the third year, you got the pressure of contracts and careers, and people have seen you already. And then you have people coming up underneath you. So younger guys, like I think his name is Cooper Flagg. He looks really good already. So getting Wembanyama the first pick won't be great. I'd actually trade down and try to get him in the third year or the fourth year.
Game and skill sets to the NBA, and the average win share
Scoot Henderson
6.7. And by season 5, by the time we as fans have made a decision on these players, the average win share total falls to just 5.9, about the same as the average starter in the NBA. This is the career of an average #1 overall pick in the NBA. We see #1 overall players as the guys who went on to have great careers, guys like Kyrie and Anthony Davis and LeBron. But we forget that far more often, these #1 overall picks pan out to be players like Markelle Fultz, Andrea Bargnani, and Kwame Brown. But even for the groundbreaking prospects who are league ready the day they put on an NBA jersey, the result is still rarely a championship or real hardware or
Chris
impact.
Paul, great career.
Over the last 25 years, the players who had the largest impact in their rookie season were Chris Paul, Ben Simmons, and Blake Griffin, followed by the 12 next best rookies of the last 25
Andre Kirilenko.
You are looking at the greatest rookie seasons of this century.
Steve Francis,
only
Pau
half
Gasol.
of them were even the best player on their team by the end of their first season in the league.
Yao
I want
Ming.
y'all to take a guess at how many of these players even made the playoffs in their rookie season.
Value
answer?
over
2.
replacement.
Which means out of the 15 best rookies who've entered the league over the last 25 seasons, not a single one of them led their team to the playoffs. And among these same 15 rookie sensations, by their third season in the league, only 4 of them managed to lead their team to the playoffs as the best player on the team. It is very hard to win in the NBA. But like some sort of gambling addict, us NBA fans like to count the wins while ignoring the losses. Somehow the countless misses we've had are outweighed by the 1 or 2 we got right. Is Victor Wembanyama the most hyped NBA prospect of all time?
If you're right one time with Tim Duncan, your career or your legacy is like 20 years. You were right one time with David Robinson. You might be right one time with Wembanyama, man.
Well, I'm not sure. Some experts that have been around
could be wrong a lot of times.
Would like to say so.
But the one time.
If my memory serves me right, I can recall a 17-year-old LeBron James drawing so much attention that he managed to have an Ohio high school basketball game featured on national television. Long before social media, the likes of LeBron James, Patrick Ewing, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar were all household names before they even put on an NBA jersey.
LeBron James.
I don't know if Wembanyama is at that level of hype at the moment, but he's getting there. And with that
He's got more
amount of
hype 'cause there's
comes
social media.
overwhelming pressure to perform. It's easy to sit back and watch this kid play, see his incredible tools in action. 7 feet 5 inches tall, 8-foot wingspan with a silky smooth jump shot and world-class defensive instincts, and one can only assume he will find immediate or even eventual success in the form
Definitely
of
not
championships
immediate.
and cultural impact in the NBA. Coaches and scouts who have been around the game for decades and have seen every prospect
He
rise
shoots
through
like
the
a
ranks
guard.
over
He
the
should not
years
shoot like
are
a guard.
saying
He should shoot
Victor
like Joker or
Wembanyama
Julius
is better
Randle.
than all of them. It would take an era-defining talent to come into the NBA and transform a franchise into a dynasty. But if Victor is everything we think he
Moving to
is,
San
he'll
Antonio.
just be the next player to do it.
Nah. Churros. Like Charles Barkley said, love them churros. What do you guys think about Wemby, man? The more they hype him up, the more I don't like him and the more I find flaws. Wemby. Until next video, take 14 minutes, 24 seconds, or 1% of your day to get better. Peace.